Greetings, everyone. Welcome to my sketchbook. Well, after a day of rain yesterday, that's kind of funny. It's a beautiful day today so far. Kind of, everything's still kind of wet, but drying off a little bit, I suppose. Should be a good day. I'm going to start off by trying to make, maybe not this far. Let's go there. Okay. I'm going to try to visit someplace. In my brain, of course. I'm going to start with just a simple line on the page. Now I wonder, another line. Sort of scratch it in. Okay. I think that's sort of an interesting thing about reading books is that it helps to build something inside of your mind. You will often hear that saying that a picture is worth a thousand words, and that is probably true. But sometimes the building of a picture can happen with a word, like a reminder, maybe. You see lots of things, I suppose. But I wonder. I'm always happy to go to new places, I suppose. But I like going to places that I know that don't really exist. Like I like to try to imagine certain things that just kind of happen to be, well, maybe in my mind. I've never been to New Orleans. Ooh, a little fuzzy on that. That's a place that I think I'd like to visit. You might have like some version of like French colonial architecture, maybe a lot of like ironworks. I don't know. Some say that it's a haunted place. I don't know how I feel about that. Nothing to do with ghosts, just a lot of history. Seems interesting to me. The Cajun people, or Acadian people, uh, It just seems like a very interesting place. Now, the music and the food, that's sort of a thing you look forward to when you visit some places. What do they call donuts in Louisiana? I think it starts with an L. Um, I've seen it mentioned in shows. Some sort of a fun pastry. No, it doesn't start with an L. It starts with a B. It's like beignet, maybe? Beignets. Hmm. I've never been. So yes, just doodling this morning. I wonder what kind of trees they would have. Old growth, I would think. Maybe cypress trees, so they'd have long branches. And they have a strange history there as well, of course. The Creole people, maybe a mix of religion and maybe a little bit of superstition. Voodoo for some reason. Voodoo. There'd be old money there too, of course. You'd have perhaps plantation styled homes. I'll change that doorknob a little bit. And depending on where it's located, a sign in my head that lets me know what kind of a neighborhood something is whether or not there are lots of pawn shops nearby or payday loan places. It's kind of a strange indicator of what type of neighborhood you might be in. Wonderful people live there, of course, too, who want to make things better. I like to think about that sort of thing. I like to build trees in such a way that I assume that right out at the very end where you have a twig, that twig makes its way all the way down to the trunk. And if you want another twig here, in order to support that little tiny twig here, you have to add that same size twig all the way back down here to support. But I don't do them individually. I just like to think that the twig has to attach to a branch and then make its way down to the trunk of the tree. Almost like putting a thread to reach the sky. It's a weird way to build a tree, especially those old growth trees. The cypress tree, from what I understand, kind of likes the swamp a little bit too. It holds a lot of moisture. Now where I am, the deer are quite prominent. So if you want to protect your flowers, you put them behind little, well, barricades. What's it like in New Orleans? You don't really, I can't picture there being like deer. That's a funny thought. Other than an alligator. But you got to be close to the swamp for that. Now that I've scratched down a few things here with this building, let's see if I can add a couple other things here. You gotta have a gas kind of meter. Maybe another spot with a window there, but it's mostly going to be taken up by that tree. Little flowers. Yes, I do believe what I said about the donuts. I think it is a beignet. Okay, so that's kind of messy. I have a cup, some water, I have a brush. I'm going to kind of make a little bit of a mess. Starting with the tree, I think. I can go back in after if I wish. Ooh, you know, it would be an interesting thing. Maybe an old car. Maybe down the road. I wonder if it's the best time to visit New Orleans. If It would be around Mardi Gras. Would it be spring, summer, fall, winter? It's an interesting idea. This roof, let's go kind of dark with it. This tree back here, we'll treat it a little bit differently. I think Anne Rice, who was famous for stories of vampires, I believe she did a lot of her sort of stories as it would relate to those vampires, but for New Orleans. Superstition is a wonderful way to build a security system. So if you think about the curse of, well, mummies, of pharaohs, they would have set up like, well, booby traps, of course, but the idea that somehow the spirits were keeping track and preventing you from, going in to look for treasure, that is a deterrent. I think that's what superstition is meant for. It is just it's a good idea, I suppose. I mean, you should have people second guess grave robbing. But it's a strange security system, I think. Now, not everybody's superstitious. You should be wary of being in places that you shouldn't be, though, to disturb those at rest who, for some reason, needed to have treasures buried with them. How quickly the superstitious make their way through because of greed. Oh well. Superstition. So these are kind of like flower boxes, maybe, that I've set up here in my little messy place. I remember quite a while ago, in the early 2000s, Hurricane Katrina brought a lot of devastation to the folks of New Orleans, Louisiana, I should say, in general. And I think for a lot of people around the world, it opened up their eyes to the possibility that the United States actually has a lot of levels of poverty as well, and sometimes an inability, I guess you could say, to help people that are in terrible need, even within their own country. So, I mean, where I live in Canada, there is poverty as well. And it's unfortunate to be from a place where you help out other countries all over the world, and you have people where you are that are suffering as well. Uh, we need to help out our neighbors. We need to help out our neighbors around the world as well. There's so much suffering all over the place. So, yes, humanitarian things are good. So, this is kind of messy, as I said, but it's fun. Ink is one of the most marvelous things in my mind. It has the very foundation of water to move things along. Now, I'm not sure why I'm picturing something on the roof. Maybe that's to keep birds from sitting up there. And it's not really as grand. Like, these are not really balconies that you walk out to. These would be just to keep you from leaning too far out when you opened a couple of things. Let's say like the windows or whatnot. Clean that brush a little bit. Just going to hop back in here for a moment. I don't picture there being much of a front yard. Just putting in little flicks of grass, maybe. Now this tree here. Return some of the detail I took away. I did say something about perhaps having a car. Yesterday, I hope I didn't give someone too bad of a heart palpitation. So earlier on in the day, I asked somebody about a vehicle that, It's kind of like a favorite or something that they'd like to see or perhaps own or whatnot. And it was a Citroën du Thivier. Anyway, pretty cool looking machine. But I managed to find the dinky car version of it. Same day. And so I dropped it off. And I think I startled the person. Not really my thing to do that kind of thing. I'm not really into. But it was more not the car itself. It was more about the just showing up. Maybe I walked too quietly. That's a possibility. Let's add just a little bit more to this and then kind of finish it up. Whatever I have floating around in my head. Just a little memory. We'll put a little mat here, but it's not really a welcome mat. It's just a place to kick some stuff off your shoes. Now, some places, or I should say some people, are fine with you leaving your shoes on when you enter their home. And others prefer for you to take your shoes off. These are things you need to be aware of course. Short little walkway there. So something's kind of popping out with this. That's where the wrought iron also appears. Wrought with a W. You could have cast iron, or you could have a blacksmith forge, which would be the wrought end of it. Would be like you could twist metal and hammer metal, stretch metal. Metalworkers are, well, you don't get a lot of that sort of thing happening in North America. It's an art form that's sort of dying off a little bit. I think there was a resurgence a little bit ago with shows like Forged in Fire. That's more about making like weaponry. But like to have a gate made, you don't really see that as much anymore. Very specialized. I don't know if there's anything else that I want to add to this. This is just a little trip. I think that's going to be it. I think this card needs to just kind of blend in a little bit. We'll kind of shade around it just a little bit. Well, I hope your day is filled with joy and great adventure, because I think that'd be great if it is. And sometimes you have to take that little trip inside your mind if you don't get out and play. I wonder who could be in the window up here. Perhaps would they look through blinds, or would they hold back the curtain a little bit? What if we had something like this? Maybe a little hand here. And they're waving hello. Although only you and I would know that this is there. This is just a good friend who's letting you know that they'll be down in a moment. Not enough detail there, of course, but just an idea. All right. Well, I think that's it. Have a wonderful day. Ciao for now.